will all have to raise our children with the knowledge that they may grow to see polar bears, the rainforest, and Florida disappear. Our grandchildren may have to live in constant apprehension of the next natural disaster or economic crash. We can't help but need some place to point the finger. In recent years, the blame has fallen to the conventional agriculture industry, and according to USDA census, it's 22 million employees. This is at no fault of producer or consumer, but rather the connection between them. If producers were to be more open about how their product moves from farm to fork, if consumers were to avidly and actively seek out this information, one clear consensus could be drawn. Conventional agriculture is safer for our people, our planet, our livestock, and our crops. So, let's take a look at how this communication error has arisen and look into how we could remedy it. As we move into a new era of agriculture, the food production process has lost some of its transparency. For the consumer, this is frightening, and rightfully so. But to the producer, the reason for this change is clear. The 40 minutes that I spend each day calculating, measuring, and mixing exact grain rations, rather than letting my cattle graze on open fields, ensures that they're using hundreds of less acres of land that we need to house our growing world population, are producing 20% less methane than grass-fed beef, which is agriculture's most significant contributor of greenhouse gases, and are going to be market-ready far before their grass-fed counterparts, which in turn allows me to put food on plates and across the nation at a much quicker rate. The dozens of anti-parasitic medications that will go through the average replacement cow through the course of its life ensures that the flat, segmented tapeworm that is lurking in nearly every pasture in the United States will not take up home in her intestines. When the cow doesn't have to share her meal with that unwanted guest, she's able to maintain a healthful weight. This allows her to carry her calf to term, raise it to weaning weight, and breed back within 40 days of giving birth. This, again, speeds up the production process. According to the calibration agency, at 2 quarts per acre, the thousands of gallons of pesticides that soak U.S. croplands protect our harvest from the pests, fungus, and bacteria that would totally deplete our product. So, the way the agriculture industry is approaching its challenges today is all with the goal of increasing production. It is easy to see how the consumer would feel this is to put more money in the pockets of producers, but let me let you in on a secret. No one is getting rich running row crops. No one is getting paid to get out of their beds at 2 a.m. to check on that first-time calving heifer. No one is getting paid when our harvests are ruined by an early frost or hail 2 weeks before harvest. We, as agriculturists, participate in the industry because it has sustained our families for generations. We participate in the industry because we are passionate about feeding the 795 million starving people worldwide. But this misconception is at no fault of the consumer. Unless you were to break down the numbers, there's no possible way to know that the agriculture industry lends itself to attack in the fight against global warming because it has lost its transparency, not because it is leading to irreparable damages that far outweigh the profits of the industry. So, let's break down those numbers. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the agriculture industry contributes only 9% of all total greenhouse emissions. 28% stem from transportation, another 28% from electricity, 22% from industries outside of agriculture, and the remaining 11% from home and recreational activities. These statistics alone should be enough to quiet the roar in the media for unnecessary solutions. But to organic agriculturists, people in fear of their future and the future of the planet that sustains them, and people whose visions have been clouded by misinformation, these statistics are enough to incite fear that allows them to attack the industry that feeds them and their starving neighbors. Admittedly, organic agriculture is more comforting to the consumer. We all love the idea of the wholesome roadside stand or the colorful farmer's market. What we love even more so is the air-conditioned car we will return to or the well-lit house after making our produce purchases. Over the next few days, the plump apples and shiny tomatoes will dwindle, but inevitably, the unlucky ones will deteriorate to shriveled versions of their former selves and we will sweep them off of our counters and refrigerator shelves into the garbage. We do not realize that in this scenario, void of conventional methods, lies the source of our worst fears. We do not realize that when we lobby for organic agriculture, we are asking people to put the luxuries we now enjoy, planes, trains, automobiles, indoor plumbing and heating, television, electricity, whatever it may be, above food production when 795 million people are starving. When 45% of child deaths are a result of malnourishment. When 2/3 of Asia is starving and 1 in 4 sub-Saharan Africans are debilitated due to lack of nutrition, according to the World Hunger Agency. We are not asking you to abandon these riches. We are instead asking for your support as we fight to feed your starving neighbor, and we ask you to continue to search for global warming solutions that do not come at the cost of food. Jimmy Carter, 37th President of the United States, FFA alum, and avid agriculture supporter, once said, "A peaceful world cannot long exist, 1/3 rich and 2/3 hungry." I want you to take this quote as an opportunity for self-reflection. Where do you get your agriculture media from? Is it a first-hand, accurate, reliable source? Why are you basing your purchases off information that doesn't directly come from the industry? And lastly, I want to leave you with this piece. When you're grocery shopping, choosing a restaurant, whatever it may be, I want you to be sure that you are not biting the hand that feeds you.
Okay, so how much more healthier and nutritious are the traditional crops and cows versus the organic?
Okay, so I covered this a little bit in my first speech, but that's still being heavily debated because there's not a lot of research, because GMOs and stuff like that we're using today is just now coming up. They're not really well researched, but there's only been one study that has proven that GMOs are harmful, and there's been, I think, around 2,000 studies conducted that show that GMOs are not harmful, but there aren't very many that compare organic versus conventional.
Does it cost more to which one costs more?
Organic agriculture costs a lot more in terms of total profits, because the way the agriculture industry works for most crops and livestock practices, you only get paid once a year, and it's based on total production rates, and organic agriculture produces a lot less on a lot more land.
From your side, how could the organic agriculture help feed more people? You mentioned the starving people.
So organic agriculture works well in privately owned small businesses. So if you are doing a garden on your own home, or some FFA programs, they grow their own crops and have an annual sale and stuff like that. Organic agriculture works really well for them because they have a small budget and a small amount of land. So if they have a lot of people working, then it works well. But on a larger scale, conventional agriculture is the best option.
All right, you're all done.